Let me tell you something when I saw my rose bush, my pride and joy, hacked to pieces in my front yard. I swear I felt my blood boil so hot it could have melted asphalt. That wasn't just any bush, it was my grandma's, planted from a cutting she gave me before she passed. A little piece of her I'd nurtured for years. And there it was, reduced to a sad pile of splintered stems. Thanks to Karen, the HOA tyrant who'd been itching to flex her clipboard power since the day I moved in. This all started in our little slice of suburban hell, Meadowview Estates, where every lawn is mowed to exactly 2.5 inches and every mailbox is the same shade of approved beige. I'm not one for rules. Never have been. But I kept my head down, mowed my grass, paid my dues, did what I had to do to keep the peace. My one rebellion. That rose bush. It wasn't just beautiful, with its deep crimson blooms that smelled like summer evenings. It was my way of saying, I'm still me, not some HOA drone. Karen, though she had it out for anything that didn't scream conformity. She'd send me letters about my non-compliant foliage every other week, claiming it was too wild or obstructing the aesthetic. I'd roll my eyes, trim a leaf or two, and move on. But this was war. It was a Saturday morning when I found the carnage. I'd just poured my coffee, stepped outside to check on my roses, and there they were, chopped to bits, roots and all, like someone had taken a machete to my heart. A note was pinned to the ground with a garden stake, non-compliant vegetation removed per HOA guidelines. Karen S. President. I stood there, coffee mug trembling in my hand, staring at the wreckage. My neighbors peeked out from behind their curtains, but nobody said a word. They knew Karen. They knew she ruled this place like a queen with a grudge and a rule book thicker than a Bible. I could have cried, could have screamed, but instead, something else clicked. A cold, calculating kind of rage. If Karen wanted to play dirty, I'd show her I could dig deeper. Let me back up a sec. Karen wasn't just any HOA president. She was the kind of person who'd measure your grass with a ruler and knock on your door at 7 to complain about a single weed. Blonde Bob, always in khakis and a polo. She'd patrol the neighborhood in her golf cart like she was auditioning for a dictator role in a bad movie. Everyone hated her, but nobody dared cross her. She had this knack for making your life miserable fines for a slightly faded mailbox, warnings for a kid's bike left out overnight. She'd once fined my neighbor Tom $200 because his dog barked 3 times past 9 p. 3 times. You know what I mean? She wasn't just enforcing rules. She was weaponizing them. So I started planning. I wasn't about to let this slide, not after she destroyed something that meant so much to me. I spent that whole weekend researching, sipping coffee that tasted like spite, scrolling through gardening forums and HOA horror stories. That's when I stumbled across the perfect weapon, pyracantha. Firethorn, they call it. Gorgeous, with glossy green leaves and bright red berries, but covered in thorns so vicious they'd make a porcupine jealous. Best part, it was on the HOA's approved plant list. Oh, the irony. I could already picture Karen's face, all pinched and red, when she realized she couldn't touch me. I called up a nursery the next town over, ordered a dozen pyracantha saplings, and paid extra for same-day delivery. The guy who dropped them off, A grizzled dude named Mike, with dirt under his nails and a twinkle in his eye, asked what I was planning. I told him the short version, Karen, the rosebush, my revenge. He laughed, slapped his knee, and said, "Give her hell, kid." That's when I knew I was onto something. The planting was phase 1. I waited until midnight, when the neighborhood was asleep, and got to work. Picture this me, in a black hoodie, shovel in hand, digging holes along the strip of land right in front of the HOA office, a little community building at the entrance of Meadowview. It's not technically anyone's property, just a communal green space, which meant Karen couldn't claim I was trespassing. The moon was high, the air was cool, and every spadeful of dirt felt like therapy. I planted those saplings in a tight, perfect row, each one a middle finger to Karen's reign of terror. By 3 a.m., I was done, sweaty and grinning like a maniac. I even left a little sign community beautification project, courtesy of Lot 47. That's me. Lot 47. The next morning, all hell broke loose. I was sipping coffee on my porch when I heard the screech. Karen's golf cart skidded to a stop in front of the HOA office, and she was out like a shot, hands on her hips, staring at my thorny handiwork. I swear I could see steam coming out of her ears. She marched over to my house, her polo practically vibrating with rage. "What is this?" she barked, pointing at the saplings like they'd personally offended her. I leaned back in my chair, all casual, and said, "Just sprucing up the neighborhood. Karen, they're on the approved list. Checked it myself." Her mouth opened, then closed, like a fish gasping for air. She knew I had her. The rules were her Bible, and I'd just quoted scripture. But here's where it gets juicy. Enter Tom, my neighbor, the guy with the $200 dog barking fine. Turns out, he'd been nursing his own grudge against Karen ever since she'd reported his kid's lemonade stand for unpermitted commercial activity. Tom saw my hedges, heard about the rose bush, and decided he was all in. He's a big guy, ex-Marine, with a laugh that shakes the walls, and he showed up that afternoon with a plan. "Let's make her life a living hell," he said, cracking his knuckles like we were about to storm a fortress. His idea bird feeders, dozens of them, all along the same strip, filled with the messiest, seediest mix you could imagine. Pigeons, sparrows, squirrels, you name it. They'd come running, and they'd turn Karen's precious communal space into a poop-covered nightmare. We spent the next week in cahoots, Tom and me, like two kids plotting a prank. He'd sneak out at night, hanging feeders from every tree and pole near the HOA office, while I watered my pyracantha and watched it grow, those thorns getting sharper by the day. By week 2, the place was a mess, bird crap everywhere, squirrels chewing up the landscaping, and Karen losing her mind. She'd show up every morning, armed with a broom, trying to shoo the birds away. But they just kept coming. One day, I caught her muttering to herself, "This is unacceptable," as a pigeon dropped a present right on her golf cart. I nearly choked on my coffee. The counterattack came at the next HOA meeting. Karen called an emergency session, and the whole neighborhood showed up, packed into the community room like sardines. She stood at the front, clutching her clipboard, and launched into a tirade about vandalism and disrespect for community standards. She pointed at me, eyes blazing, and said, "Lot 47 is responsible for this chaos." I stood up, calm as you please, and said, "Karen, I planted approved plants. Tom put up approved bird feeders. Maybe the problem's not us. Maybe it's you. The room went dead silent. Then Tom started clapping, slow and loud, and half the room joined in. Karen's face turned the color of my old roses, and I swear I saw her hands shake. She tried to find me, tried to find Tom, but we had the rule book on our side. Every move we'd made was by the book, her book. She couldn't touch us, and she knew it. The meeting ended with her storming out, slamming the door so hard the framed HOA charter rattled on the wall. The rest of us, we were buzzing, whispering, laughing. For the first time, Meadowview felt like it might just survive Karen. The hedges grew, and so did the legend. My pyracantha became the talk of the neighborhood. People started calling it the Thorn Wall, snapping pictures and posting them on the Community X page with captions like Lot 47 for President Karen tried to rally her loyalists. But even they were starting to crack. One of them, a mousy woman named Linda, pulled me aside one day and whispered, "I wish I'd thought of it first." That's when I knew we'd won not just me and Tom, but everyone who'd ever felt Karen's wrath. The final scene. Picture this, a crisp fall morning, the HOA office surrounded by my towering pyracantha, now 6 feet tall and thick with thorns, the ground littered with birdseed and squirrel tracks. Karen's golf cart is parked out front, scratched up from an unfortunate encounter with my hedges. She's standing there, staring at the mess, her clipboard forgotten on the ground. I walk by, give her a little wave, and say, "Looking good." Karen? Real community spirit. She doesn't respond, just glares, like she's trying to set me on fire with her eyes. I keep walking, whistling, knowing I've got the whole neighborhood behind me. But here's the thing was, I right to escalate it like that. I mean, yeah, she destroyed my rose bush, my grandma's rose bush. And, yeah, she's been terrorizing everyone for years. But planting a wall of thorns and turning her precious office into a bird toilet, some folks might say I went too far, that I should have just taken her to small claims court or something. Others, like Tom, think it's the best thing since sliced bread. I'm not sure where I stand anymore. Part of me feels like a hero. Part of me wonders if I just became the new Karen, fighting petty with petty. What do you think was this justice? Or did I cross a line? Drop your take below. I'm dying to hear it. The end